I think Australian standards for pig welfare are better than most countries in the world.
Australia has a fantastic reputation around the world as being clean and green.
The Australian pork industry has high standards of welfare in the housing of pigs.
Welfare of pigs is very important to us as pig producers because a healthy pig is a pig that grows faster, eats more feed, is a better product at the end of the day.
And if I couldn't have good welfare and have healthy animals that are doing well, I wouldn't be in this business.
But there's debate in the community about whether the standards of welfare should change.
I guess our main concern would be the intensive housing of pigs, that generally the emphasis is on increased production and not on good welfare.
The Australian pork industry is coming under pressure from both animal welfare groups and the European Union to make major changes to the way producers house their pigs.
Housing sows in stalls is one of the most controversial welfare issues for the pig industry.
There's a lot of pressure internationally building with regard to intensive farming in general, particularly the issue of sow stalls. We need to develop animal welfare practices that are sustainable and that are going to meet what Australians want.
Politicians make changes when they're driven by the public, and the public are not necessarily well aware of what goes on in the pork industry. So we as an industry need to take time to educate the public, invite people onto our places, show them what happens.
The pork industry is dominated by small producers running family businesses with an average herd size of only 120 sows. Producers choose from many methods of housing pigs, and each method has its own practical advantages.
For the weaners and the growers, we have outdoor housing, which consists of rice hulls and straw.
These pigs are finisher pigs. We keep them in here on a fully splattered floor. They have effluent pits underneath them that are flushed daily.
We run a 2,500 sow outdoor piggery where the sows are roaming on free land, and as part of a cropping rotation where after the pigs we grow wheat and canola and barley.
Once we wean the piglets, the little piglets are put in what we call eco sheds on the site, and they're there for about 6 weeks.
These are gestation stalls, and we keep the sows in here for part of their pregnancy because they've all got access to their own food. They don't have to fight for their food.
We all want good welfare standards for pigs and want their basic needs to be met, but there's a lot of disagreement on exactly what those needs are and how important they are. It's a very complex issue and not easily resolved.
No one would deny that we have to provide animals fundamental needs. And these are very important for welfare, and if we don't provide them, we have good evidence there are adverse consequences to the animal. One of the issues that we haven't resolved, of course, is what all these needs are.
The greatest debate is about the housing of sows and whether they should be kept in stalls or groups during their pregnancy.
There's a code of dimensions for these stalls. You see, the stall has to be long enough so that the sow can move up and back with plenty of room, can move sideways with plenty of room, and can lie down and stand up easily, and can move into the feeder. And so we just use the standard code of dimensions.
The problem with sow stalls is they don't allow the sow to move around or even do anything more than take a step forward or a step back. And it's a fundamental requirement, we feel, for all animals to be able to stand up, lie down, move around within their environment.
On the question of whether the dimensions are adequate, well, that's a code of dimensions that's been set by research. The pork industry is fairly unique because we spend millions of dollars of our own money commissioning research people to do this work for us.
The size of stalls is not the only debate.
The other problem is that they don't allow social interaction between sows, and you have to remember that pigs are very social animals, and that's a very important part of their behaviour.
Group housing is a cheaper way of housing sows, but it's a lot harder on them. They fight for dominance, they fight for the available feed. You get a lot of damage. It's hard on the sows.
One of the problems with the loose housing that there's a constant level of aggression between the sows in this system. So there's
a decrease in the welfare of these animals because they're fighting or they're the subject of bullying by other sows.
It can be a problem in groups, and there are solutions to that. If you have a particularly aggressive sow, then you can remove her from the group. But it's not a reason for housing every single sow for a large proportion of its pregnancy in a single stall.
Well, certainly you can isolate sows. In that situation, you're sort of in catch-22, and you can keep on taking sows out all the time, and then you've got to find somewhere to put them, and you've got to hold them for about 14, 16 weeks, and then you may want to try and reintroduce them into a group, which further aggravates the situation.
Ultimately, the RSPCA wants to get rid of sow stalls. In the short term, we understand that producers will need to phase out sow stalls to allow them to bring in new equipment.
Research toward alternative housing is being done. Clearly, there are conflicting opinions on the use of sow stalls. And there's also debate about accommodation for sows while giving birth or farrowing.
Well, currently most pig producers in the world farrow in systems like this in farrowing crates.
Now this crate moves in and out and allows her to lie down and stretch out and to stand up. When she stands up, the crate folds in, and when she lies down, she has to lie down slowly so she doesn't flop on top of the little guys.
Most sows spend their pregnancy in stalls and farrow in special crates indoors. But some people believe that groups of sows farrowing outdoors on straw is a more welfare-friendly alternative.
As far as welfare of the sow and the piglets go, there's pluses and minuses of both systems. We certainly lose a few more piglets because we have no protection for the piglet. You've got a little piglet that weighs 1 kilogram up against mum that's about 250 kilograms.
When we look at this protective equipment, it's easy to think about the rights of sows, but we also need to think about the rights of those other 9 or 10 little guys that are in there too. They've got rights too. So we need to give them the best chance we can of not being trodden on and not being lied on by mum, and the best chance they can get of making it to weaners. Our survival rate here is very high. We're losing less than 8% of the pigs that are born alive.
An outdoor situation certainly looks like a more natural environment for sows, but it's not necessarily an ideal alternative to stalls or crates.
The big problem in Australia is that outdoor sows don't really thrive in a warm environment, so it is probably confined to fairly small parts of the country, hence we set off in southern Victoria.
And also, one very interesting finding from some work overseas is outdoor pigs have these oral nasal behaviours, so they use their nose and they manipulate the ground. And the amount of time pigs spend in that behaviour is very similar, independent of the system you're in, whether it's outdoors or stalls. Yet when we see some of those behaviours in stalls, we say, oh, they're stereotypies, which is considered a poor behaviour. But yet when we see that sort of behaviour outdoors, it's normal.